Oh, that's good.
¿Y qué la mía de cara de mi suegra sola? Sí. Esa es la mía de
Sí, lo dejo ver. Y tiene una historia de Américas para contarte que es...
Oh, no, que llegué.
me imagino.
Y here I am, and I'm also an experimental filmmaker from Argentina. I thought that was great that somebody that was in the 70s.
Better background.
Heard about experimental film in Argentina. And then he said, you come from Argentina where they stole my films. And he closed the door on me and he never spoke to me again.
Oh,
he was very rude, very rude.
He said the same thing to me. Oh, you come from Argentina where they stole my films.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this was like 35 years later. And
Maybe your friend, your boss.
Bueno, what?
Well, I actually I was looked up something about. Do you know who Howard Gutenplan? You must know.
Sure.
Well, I know him because I've done screenings at Millennium, and on his website it says he writes about you.
Really?
Yes.
Now you mean?
Well, he writes that you have one of his films.
I
That
have one, yes.
yes,
I have
and
one.
that it's in your collection. But I write about film some, and I'm just been involved in that world for 20 years or so. And my daughter's name is Maya, if that means anything. You know, not just because of Maya Deren, but it's not a coincidence. But how did you get involved with it? What was the first moment when you said cinema could be something that you could use to express yourself?
I come from painting.
So do
I'm
I.
a visual artist, and I come from painting. And at some point in my life in Argentina, painting in a way had died. I mean, this was the 60s, and we had here a place called El Instituto de Tela, who had a guru called Jorge Romero Brest, who was very important, and a kind of art critic, philosopher, very conceptual, and very good, really very good. Everybody feared him a lot.
That's important.
That's important. And he had decreed that there was art had died. I mean, art as we knew it had died. Painting had died. Painting on a what do you call it, on an easel had died. So. Well, I didn't have a very happy marriage with painting, so I was in for something else. And then at the time we did what was then called happenings, which was very, I mean, it was well known in New York. It all comes from there. It really all came from New York and eventually from California. And so we started out doing different happenings, and there was one big happening called La Marabunta. Marabunta is the name for an ant who exists in South America, and they come by the millions, and wherever they go, they eat up whatever they can get and what they see. And that happening called Marabunta was a big skeleton, a female skeleton, like 6 meters long, which we did in our studio. We had a friend who was studying medicine, and she would bring us the bones, and we would sort of reproduce the bones in bigger, in a larger scale. And so we made this huge skeleton, woman skeleton, and we dressed it with food. On the skull there were, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 dozens of bananas,
Like those who was that? Maybe pre-Renaissance.
Archimboldo.
Yes, yes.
In a way, it's like an Archimboldo, but
Yes.
and not painted, but in
Yes.
in life.
Interactive too.
Yes, and inside, and then it was the whole body was covered with food that all the friends made, like cakes and fruit, and everything was eatable. And inside, she was empty, and in the skull, she had those small parrots that are very, very small, and inside her belly she had live pigeons, which we painted in fluorescent light. I mean, these were the
It's
times
fantastic.
everybody did these kind of
Yeah.
things. So what this is, to come back to cinema, I mean, at that point I needed somebody to document the Marabunta, and I found somebody who said, well, there's so-and-so, and he has a camera, a 16mm camera, and he can do the filming. And he did that, and then we sat down when it was finished to cut it. We did the editing. And then we sort of started, I say we because we were 3. We were a group of 3, 1 woman friend and 1 man friend. And so we did the editing of that, and one of the women friends that was with me at the time was a photographer. So I had a 16mm camera, which we had in our family, you know, to film the usual family events, and which my husband had bought, I don't know, in New York, I suppose. No, in Germany, I think it was.
A Bolex.
A Bolex. A Bolex. And so that's how it started. And then I went over to when I was in New York, and people would say, well, this is the mecca of experimental cinema, and you have to look at things. I had a niece of mine who's been studying art history. She said, well, if you're interested in experimental cinema, you have to go today or tomorrow to the MoMA, and they're screening something called Wavelength by Michael Snow. And I went to see, and I sat down by myself in the cinema at the MoMA, and the first 10 minutes were like, I thought...
Excruciating.
Yes, absolutely. And people got up and would make noises and shout, etc. And then suddenly, in the back of my mind, I remember that she had said, no, it's going to last 45 minutes. So then I relaxed, because then I said, well, it's not going to last forever. It will be finished at some
It might be a
point.
happening where it lasts for 3 days, and not you're jail, right?
So that was the beginning, and then I started filming in 16mm, and that became too expensive, and then Super 8 came up and was very easily, it was easy to get in Argentina, and then there was a group of people with whom I filmed and who were also filming in Super 8, but everybody was on his or her own. I mean, everybody would do her or his film, but we would be screening things together. And so we started off in very odd places, very underground places, but underground was in at the time. So that was a ride. Nobody ever came. It was, I don't know, like 5 or 6 people coming to see the screening. And then the Goethe Institute got interested in us through Marie Louise Alleman. Marie Louise was the other friend who was in one of the group. See? Somebody.
Me está llamando a la gata.
A la gata. Lydia. No, come down. So that was the beginning.
Did you see, I have a question because I thought of Carolee Schneemann. Did you see
Yes,
her?
I met Carolee Schneemann, and at some point I stayed in New York for a while. I rented a flat, and one of my crises here, and I rented a flat in New York, and I said I'm going to buy a small cinematheque. So I had a friend, Leopoldo Mahler, an Argentine who was then living in New York, and he was a friend of Carolee Schneemann.
Mm-hmm.
And he introduced me to her, and I bought fuses at the time.
I was wondering, because when I saw your films, I thought that, not that, I didn't necessarily think they had been influenced by her, but that it was a voice that spoke about feminism in a way that embraced the body. Mm-hmm. And, so much about feminism at that time kind of went in 2 directions. Mm-hmm. Okay, we erase the body, mm-hmm. or we show that we can embrace it and celebrate it, and we don't mind showing ourselves nude, because we are interested in the beauty of all human beings and that kind of thing. But other women went in different directions. So, to me, one of the films I brought you was definitely influenced by her work. Did you hear about her scroll piece where she pulled the?
Yes.
Was that influential to you?
Yes, Yes, I heard about that. I didn't know her that I wasn't very close to her, but the first film I ever bought was Fuses.
Oh.
And I don't have that many films. How many do I have?
You also have Scar Tissue.
Well, that came later.
Is that her film?
No.
I've never seen that.
It's a very good short film.
No,
it's not Schneemann?
No, it's not Schneemann. Scar Tissue is not Schneemann, it's Sue Friedrich.
Oh.
No, that came much later. Sue Friedrich is another generation.
Yeah, I like Sue's films a great deal also.
Yes,
so you own one of her films?
I have two by her.
I'll tell her that I met you.
Yes.
I don't talk to her all the time, but I might write her an email when I go home today. Yeah, because her films have been important to me also.
Yes, then at the time, what happened? Well, I went to the Millennium, and Howard Gutenplan gave me like a list of filmmakers that I could meet or sort of contact and there was Brakhage. I spoke to Brakhage. I bought, I think, 1 or 2 films by Brakhage. And I met him afterwards. I met him when we went to Toronto, but at the time I didn't meet him because he wasn't living there anyway. And then I bought several things, and then there was, how was this man called, who did In Search of the Miraculous, who was a part of the entourage of Andy Warhol with the Italian.
Oh gosh.
Italian last name. Well,
don't know.
I'll remember it now, or we can go up and have a look at it. Anyway, this is how it started, and then from 16mm, I went over to Super 8, and that lasted until Super 8 died, which was in the 80s.
And it has a new life now, maybe.
It has a new life now. It's coming back. I was a little, in a way, I was like angry yesterday, not with this poor boy who was doing whatever he wants to do, but suddenly I was sitting up on Saturday afternoon trying to see if the Super 8 films were all right, and then there was a splice that wasn't no good, and I didn't have a splicer anymore, and I was suddenly sitting there trying to restore my old Super 8 films. Well, I really don't want to do that anymore. I mean, I want to do other things. I want to go ahead and not do the work that maybe other people should do, if they're interested.
Volunteer to do that. That's my thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
your thing.
Paola knows exactly what to do.
Yes, no. Well, that would be good. Fine.
I even talked to Pablo about this, but yeah, I went to New York I have a master's in film preservation. So, and my thesis was on experimental film preservation.
Really?
How to work with experimental
well,
film.
that's
So
fantastic.
back to her.
Okay.
No, that's fantastic. Very important for us. Very important. So, well, that's then, well, Super 8 had died and video was coming up, and then I thought, well, my thing wasn't video, so I didn't take video up. I went back I did a feature film in 16 millimeters, which I hadn't done ever, you know, really with a script and with, professional actors and all that. And I wasn't very happy about that. I thought it wasn't my thing. So I left that, and then eventually I started writing. More than filming, I started writing, and now I'm sort of recycling all the material, all the footage I have. And I don't think I need to, even if I want to make a film, I don't think I need to film anymore, because I have, everything is already filmed.
Oh, I love, yeah, and you have this palette. It's like you have the colors and. I can add maybe something to what I'm doing now if I need it, but most of it I have, and I'm now working on a kind of autobiographical film where I want to do like two parallel lives, one in images and one in text. So one would be a written life, written in a book, and the other would be in images and would be a film. So when you look at those images that you created 20 or 30 years ago, 40, what do you see of yourself in those images?
What do I see of myself? Well, it's all very, as you know, it's all very autobiographical. We have been, what was generally done is that unless you did something very conceptual, like, I don't know what, let's say the film The Flicker. Do you remember The Flicker?
Yes.
In the States? Well, that was very conceptual. But the other films were all about sort of the daily life. And
also
Jonas' long film that lasts about five hours, the one he did lately. We saw that 2 years ago in here.
Oh, right.
No?
Images of Beauty, something like that.
Very long title.
Yeah. But when you look at those, what about the way that you shot? Would you shoot that way today? Do you feel an affinity for that, for the eye, that not just the images of yourself, but the way you looked at the world then?
Yes. Oh, yes. No, definitely. It was I mean, work-wise or professionally speaking, it was a very happy time. We could film, or I always had a camera. It was a small camera. I always had a camera with me, so one could film wherever one went, and it was one was free not to go like filmmakers who would have to have a whole bunch of people going with them and have a script. I never had a script. I always just went out and filmed, and then I did the editing, the cutting myself. And the sound, putting the sound to it also. That's why
writing a script and doing the feature wasn't very fun.
No, well, it wasn't my thing. I mean, there are others who did scripts eventually.
Yeah.
We then met a German filmmaker called Werner Nekes, who came over
I know his films.
From the Goethe Institute. Was a very good filmmaker, and he would work with scripts and sort of very disciplined in a way what he wanted to do. He was very experimental and had to sort of to measure the frames and then go forward and backward, but that was not so much what we did or what I did anyway.
Yeah.
And we were a group of people, like 6 or 7, and then we would sort of exchange, we would act for each other and lend equipment to each other, and in that sense we would sort of appear together. They're now trying to write a book about that. They're all coming back to that. It's archaeology, really.
But I thought there was a side to your films that was also ethnographic. There was an interest in culture outside of the city, in the landscape, and in the ways people lived. That was also outside.
No, I don't think so.
No, not at all. No.
No, I think it was a pure visual affair, and I would pick up just any old theme or any old subject that would sort of I would come across and pursue that, but it wasn't.
Did you travel with your camera? No, I didn't mean political.
It was never social.
Oh no. Mm-hmm.
It was. I mean, it was trying to. It was for me, in a way, I think it was like the happy life after painting. It really, the movement meant a lot to me, and I suddenly felt that I could paint with film, and that the movement, and that was what went like it went well with me in that sense. But I could be filming this kitchen as much as Patagonia, where I live, where I have a farm, so it would be the same.
Oh, I see. So, because it seemed like you were observing both the interior and the world as you experienced it, as you were moving through it.
Well, I used a lot. I had a studio at the time where I worked, and I used the studio as a location, as a scenery a lot, and
windows, a lot of doorways and windows.
Well, the interiors, it was the interiors that it seemed I didn't need to go out so much. I could film inside, and I did that a lot. And there are many films where the studio appears. Then I was very influenced also by this Michael Snow, who had done a film which I hadn't seen, but apparently where he has a fixed camera and onto it he films onto a bookcase, and his voice says what one sees in the bookcase. And I did something similar by the fixed camera onto a wall where there were photographs, but instead of telling the public what they saw, I would tell them what they didn't see.
I like that.
So yeah. I did like it wasn't in a way the same, but a little further in a way.
What about John Cage? Were you influenced by his?
Not much, because I'm not such a music person. I mean, he was part of the 60s scene, obviously, but our filming started in the 70s, and at that time I had met Steve Reich in New York, and so I did a film with one of his pieces of music, and that is the one I'm going to screen at the Malva.
What is the title?
Come out and show them.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I know that by heart. But you made a film with that sound?
I made a film.
I know that very well, that piece.
Well, you can.
And the story of it.
Yes, and the story. Well, maybe you can tell me something a little bit more.
Do you know the background of the?
That he went into a prison and made a recording of one of the prisoners that he had to say, and I had to open the bruise up.
Do you know the piece? It's an interview. He heard on the radio.
I think that film, that I have a Super 8 version and a 16mm version, and if you like, I'll show you the Super 8, because I've seen, this is strange because I saw it last night. I screened it to myself last night. I hadn't seen it for
that'd be nice to see it on, I'd love to see it.
So that comes back suddenly.
I can give her a copy too.
You have a DVD? Yes.
It's one of my favorite sound pieces in the world, that piece.
Yeah, and it was very typical for that time, for the 60s. So well, and then in a way, I mean, the 60s and the 70s was very different to the 80s and the 90s, and when all the avant-garde suddenly collapsed, because this happened all over the world. It wasn't only that suddenly we had no more Super 8, we suddenly had no more avant-garde. And at the time when I started filming, it was a political statement. Even if I only filmed these three apples, it was a political statement, and you were either in favor of that or you were against it.
Why was it a political statement?
Because suddenly art had turned into something entirely different, where people would go to the shows and then they would find, instead of pictures hanging on the wall, they would find that it was a happening taking place, and they wouldn't understand what was going on, and they would come and say, this is not art, and my 5-year-old child can do better than whatever we see on this on the screen, on what is being shown. So that was a political statement, and people were either against it or in favor of it. It wasn't that you could be on both sides, and nowadays everybody is sort of happy with what is happening. Whatever is happening is all right. At the time it wasn't, and so there was a lot of we had continuous fights. It was battlefields all over. And inside the family there would be discussions about what one was doing. The husbands would be against their wives. I had a husband who would say, one can't see a thing in whatever you do, it's no good at all, and so forth. And well, there was a lot of, it was ideology.
But what about, I feel like I wanted to ask one more thing, then we can, but we've talked about New York because that's what we're familiar with. But what about making those kind of films in Argentina in the 70s? What was it, how was it? How would you describe that?
Well, it was, as I said, it was just going out and filming, and because we felt like it, we didn't think about it a lot. I was probably the only one who could travel and see something else, and that this was going on in different countries also. But the others were people from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, mostly poor, fairly poor, so they didn't have the means. But we would go out and everybody would do his or her film, and then we would screen it, and in the screening it was getting some old place where we could put our projector, and then there would be friends coming in. And
but was it done
like 12 or 20 maybe. Until the time when the Goethe Institute, as I said, sort of took notice of us, and they would say, well, come over and we'll do sort of institutionalize you, and so we had a catalog, or we had somebody who would sort of announce, but we have never ever had a critic of the films ever. So it was completely off Broadway, whatever that means in Buenos Aires. It was never. We were. After we finished filming, we were very well known in a very small elite. I mean, we were world famous for 50 people. Maybe.
Okay, I have two more questions.
Hopefully.
Just for the record, could you say the names of the people who were the Argentine experimental filmmakers of that time?
Well, the one who belonged to my group was Marie Louise Alleman. She was a photographer. Then there is Claudio Caldini.
I saw his films and
around and still doing something eventually. There was Juan José Muñi, who is in Uruguay and working for the Cinemateca Uruguaya. Then there was Horacio Vallarreggio, who's not filming anymore. He went then to Italy and then he came back. He's living in Buenos Aires now. I don't see him much. And Juan Vijola, who died, he got run over by a car somewhere. And
Laura y Jorge.
Laura and Jorge Honig didn't belong to my group, but they were also filmmakers. There's a couple, Laura and Jorge Honig, and who lived in the south in Bariloche, and their brother Alberto Honig, who also did experimental films. And then there were others in Buenos Aires. Estaba Hugo Arias, a young man who did films by himself. He didn't belong to anybody. And then there's this Silvestre Biron, who's also around, but they wouldn't belong to it. We were really a group. And
Did you have a name for your group at all?
No. No, but we were the ones we went together to the Goethe Institute, and we would appear as a group, but we were very few. And then there is Marta Minuchino also did films experimental films at the time, I think in the 60s.
Were there any of you who were considered threatening to the government, or anybody that the government stopped in the 70s during the difficult times here?
It was. I think that what we did was so radical in a way, radical because it had no political content, and I think that possibly the military were checking what we were doing, but since they couldn't understand what it said because there was no obvious no message. And we belonged to so different strata, socials, and we were people. I was a very bourgeois lady who lived with my husband and my 3 children in a more or less a good neighborhood. Others would be living, I don't know, wherever in poor quarters, and so we didn't fit into any group that could be marked as being either for the government or against the government. Much less if you saw the films, because nobody could make any of that or say that would be political.
Because in some society,
we got by, but I mean before all that happened, I did things on the street. And I was, I mean, there the police showed up a lot, and I didn't get into jail because, well, I don't know, they didn't want me, but the things I did, I would be sort of gathering people on the street by giving away apples first, and then small babies like dolls, and that was that was. Shortly before this whole thing of it was the moment when it was strongest, the political action here, and with the military against the guerrilla was strongest. So I have that also was filmed. I don't think. Maybe Carolee Schneemann was there, because I did one of those where I gave away the little dolls. I did it in New York. And I think Carolee was one of the people who documented it. I don't remember very well, but it was Leopoldo Mahler, and I think it was Carolee Schneemann, but that was in the 70s.
It sounds like I'm a little familiar with Valley Export.
Yes.
It sounds like one of her, I mean, that period and that kind of in the street and physical and that kind of thing. Giving away things, like how to talk about commodification without being involved with it.
Yeah. Well, it was also the time of the living theater, and it was at the little dolls. These were these tiny celluloid dolls, very tiny, very cheap ones that children have, the toys. And I would give them, I had 500 of them lying on the floor, and I would give them away and would say to the people, I did this in New York and in London also, and say, have a baby. And that, that was strange, because it was the dolls, and I would say, have a baby.
Have a baby. That's interesting.
So have it, have
Yeah.
it, I give it to you.
Yeah.
And I did this in Buenos Aires and in New York and in London. And it was an entirely different happening in 3 cities, completely different.
Interesting. Well, I know. Thank you for talking.
Do you have documentation for the 3 of them?
For the 3 of them?
Through the actions?
Yes, I have. There's a film of 3 events in Buenos Aires and New York and London. In London, it was strange because people in Britain, they are polite and
famously,
yeah, they're polite, and so I was standing there giving away my babies, and I would say, have a baby, and elderly ladies would come by and say, at my age, why should I have a baby? And so, but very friendly, always very friendly. Nobody was eager to have anything, but they would ask me and they would be interested. They would be interested. In New York, nobody was interested, but absolutely nobody was interested, because also I sort of collided with another manifestation of the lettuce pickers from California.
Cesar Chavez. Something like that.
Something or other, who were saying boycott lettuce.
That was Cesar
so
Chavez.
I was saying, have a baby, and these were with posters and banners saying, boycott lettuce, so people wouldn't understand what it was all about. Why the babies and the boycott?
Because they wanted there to be something you were trying to convince them to do,
yes,
or not to do. Or
yes, and they didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
They really didn't want to be bothered. They were not interested. They were rushing by. They were all in a hurry. They didn't sort of even look at me. But also they wouldn't say anything like go away or leave me alone. They wouldn't do that, but they would just not be interested. And in Argentina, I did it in the middle of town in Corrientes in Florida, and people would be pushing each other to get a
dog.
baby. It went away in 5 seconds.
Marabunta.
and they would step on the dolls, and they would carry away the broken pieces of the doll, and then the police came, and it is in the film too, and they said, you can't stay here, go away. And I said, well, why should I go away? I'm not doing anything. And he said, look at what you're doing. And there was immediately a political discussion among the public. They were fighting. It was the day when they brought these corpses back from Trelew. Remember that day? That day we did that, and so everything was like in flames.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Buenos Aires.
if you told me you have 3 kids, and I don't know if you have nieces or nephews or grandchildren, but what is would you tell my girls what a happening is?
Well, nowadays it's called an installation. I mean, it's more or less the same. The happening was something that would be contrary to just an exhibition. When you have an exhibition of paintings, and you have the paintings hanging on the wall, and you show your paintings, and you invite people to come and see your paintings, and then everybody comes and says hello and says how nice, and they have a glass of wine, and that's called a vernissage. Well, when happenings started, it was against that. People didn't want that anymore. They wanted something that the public could participate, not just look at and stand in front and not be passive in a way. So the happenings was something that involved the public too. You had to cooperate. So when we gave away we gave away apples, green apples, and so people had to accept that and say something to that, and that's called a happening. in terms of Romero Brest, this guru that I told you about, said art was before about representation, and then it became presentation. It was before it was it became art became a situation, not just something isolated from the public, but something that involved, and it became a situation which included also the public.
Mm-hmm.
That would be more or less the difference.
Perfect.
In Laboratorios Alex. And when we did the Marabunta, I said, I need somebody to document this. Do you have a filmmaker? And I said, yes, I have one, Ramundo. And we didn't know him. I never knew, while he filmed and we did the editing together, we never spoke about politics. I never knew that he was so involved.
What year was this?
No?
What year was
That's 67. October 67 was.
Well, I think that he became more and more involved in politics a little bit afterward.
Can you repeat who we're talking about, because I just turned on the camera?
Oh, Ramundo Glazer. He was one of the desaparecidos filmmakers. He he actually had an American producer. The money for his films came from Bill Sussman. Bill Sussman was a producer. He was very, very progressive and liberal.
Mm-hmm.
I think he even was in the Spanish Civil War, in the Abraham Lincoln Brigades, I think.
Come out to show and 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 come out to come out to show and come out to show and come and come out to show 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 and to show and come out 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 to show
These are all children at the time, my children, still small.
¿Tequilando a mano?
Sí. Una tijera.
¿Tiene título este man, Narcisa?
Se llama Verano del 73. That was the village bus. And they were scenes at the time. Bueno, hasta ahí.
That was beautiful. Would you just say the name of the film once more, of that film?
Verano del 73.
In English?
Summer.
Of Verona.
1973.
Okay, thank you. Summer of 1973.
So that's
It was beautiful. I loved it. Didn't you think so, Maya? Wasn't it gorgeous?
Well, these are the series of diaries. Well, there are quite a bit of them, but I've never sort of put any sound to it.
It doesn't need sound.
It doesn't need sound. I don't think so.
I loved that.